The key standard every man should have in dating. A lot of people are looking at dating from the wrong perspective when it comes to the game. And what people don't understand is that the guys that actually win with women are not really that smarter. And what I'm about to teach you should actually begin to change the process of how you see things. See, the difference between those that become students of the game and those who actually learn the game is that those who become one thought, one mind, one way, they actually remove the mental programming that keeps everybody locked in. And the mental programming is based off of the reality that you're in. And it's basically how you feel about yourself. You know, I've always said that there's nothing wrong with women and there's nothing wrong with dating. It's just the perception that you have, not of women and not of dating, but actually of yourself and everything. And for a lot of guys out here, they're in a world right now where everything is distracting them, and they're in a time where everything is actually manipulating them, and they're a time where there's a lot of confusion on who they are and what they should be in this thing, and this world when it comes to women. And this isn't about luxury or anything. This is more about a survivor skill that most you guys can actually win at in the game when you start to lock into the game. And the more you lock into the game and the more you have more of an understanding of the standard and not make it about what dating is, but what role do you actually play when it comes to dating. And once you can figure out the role that you play when it comes to dating, that's going to change everything, because basically your interpretation of everything is why things are going the way they are. I mean, we interpret things so many ways depending on how we think about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and how we actually move. And I think most guys out here, they don't understand at the end of the day. I want to teach you guys, in order for you to be that guy, the standard shouldn't be the woman first. It's removing three critical things. And that, as I always say, assuming, judging, and expectation. And the thing is that the assumptions that a lot of guys have is that they see or assume things, not just about themselves, but also about women, but also the construct of dating and what it is to them. And a lot of guys actually get frustrated about that, because a lot of guys have no idea what dating actually is or what does it mean. And a lot of young men believe that unfortunately, and here's where the problem comes in at. Everybody believes, because of the way they see the world, they believe that they're independent or free thinkers. They believe that what I think and how I move is actually the way the world works. And unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way. And they don't understand that they're not operating for the construct of understanding who they are. It's an interpretation of what has been fed to them when it comes to women. And I'm not here to insult anybody, because it's not about insulting your intelligence. It's about you beginning to take a moment and process everything that's going on in your life when it comes to the game and it comes to dating. And a lot of guys out here don't understand the connection. And that means that what's happening is that you're operating from a standard, but the standard that you're always operating, like I told you, and most people don't share this depth with you, is that the interpretation from reality, number one, like I've always said, is a reality based off of mom and dad. It's an indoctrination of everything that we were taught, because when we were young, we were sponges and we took in information. And what happens is when you tie up femininity or you tie up a lack of belief in yourself to a woman, what happens is that you jump to not just conclusions, but you jump to what is called emotional conclusions. And that's part of the problem, the conclusions that young men think about. And most people think they're choosing freely, but they're actually choosing from within a cage cell in their mind. And most people are not going to be able to see that thing in their mind, because most of people feel like they're actually free. Remember, I've always told you guys, a fish in a fish tank is free, but he is limited on the not the cage, but the tank in which he's in. And I'm not saying you guys are fishes, but in your mind, you're like a fish in a fish tank. Yeah, you're free to move around and flow, and you can go and come and you can do whatever you want, but the problem is that the standard that you created is a standard that is actually holding you back and actually holding you down. I mean, your mind is going to allow you to think, but it is not going to allow you to decide. And if you do not learn the game, then the way you're going to see dating is going to be very frustrating, and it's going to be hard, and women don't like me, and I can't get a woman. And then what happened is you begin to create a standard of not of myself, but I'm going to follow information that I feel connected to. And that's why one of the biggest problems is that a lot of young men are always looking at information that is not good for them. And what I mean by information not good to them is that they want to connect to what they think that they feel that, okay, this guy's talking to me. And a lot of guys don't do that. If you notice nowadays with the PUAs, they're fading out. If you see a lot of the red pill guys, they're going political and things like that. A lot of changes are happening. And a lot of these young men are left to wonder where do I fit in all this stuff? And it's not even a fit in, it's part of the standard. And I want to bring all this directly into dating, because this is where most guys lose without ever realizing what's going on. The single most important standard that a man can have in dating is you don't have to elevate the standard of fear, and that's the problem that a lot of guys have. Every standard, and this is why I talk about the standard not of dating but of oneself, because we have to look at the foundation in which the standard is based upon. And most of the standards are based upon actually fear, anxiety, worry, and rejection, and that's the problem. And a lot of people are always looking for a way to try to get around that standard, but you can't get around something that you are connected to on so many levels. And when you meet a woman, you text a woman, you try to talk to a woman, or you do anything with a woman, the problem is that you're doing it from a standard that is inside of that prison in your head. It's a prison. And for a lot of guys out there, when they meet women, it's like they're afraid to say the wrong thing. They're afraid that if I say the wrong thing, if I do the wrong thing, if I make the wrong move, I'm actually going to lose the woman. And they're afraid of the silence. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It's just that the fear that you have is the standard in which you're operating everything from. And everything you're creating from is a place of not believing in yourself. Low self-esteem, low self-worth. And a lot of you guys out here, because of that, you're afraid of being misunderstood. You're afraid of being judged. And you are afraid that you are just not good enough for that woman, and that puts a lot of pressure on you. So then what happens, because of a standard that you have for yourself when it comes to dating, it is at that point where you then then you go on the internet, and then the sabotage of the mind is actually, and this is where the problem comes in at, the sabotage of the mind happens when one person goes on the internet and then reinforces the standard in which he should be breaking, and that's part of the problem. That's not a connection, that's compliance, man. And that's why we want you to, when it comes to the game, we always want you to look at everything different. And the man who breaks out of that construct or that reality is going to change things, because a woman isn't going to be drawn to a person that is always trying to be perfect in her eyes, okay? This is not about being perfect, and this is not trying to be something for that woman. It is actually when you connect yourself to yourself and have what we call understanding of understanding. When you have understanding of understanding and become the student of the game, that's when the shift is actually going to happen. And that's what the game is all about, being mentally independent of your thoughts. Because right now it's the way you think and the way you see the world is the problem. And as a man, when you learn the game, you don't actually react to dating itself, and that's what's crazy about it. You not even react to the standard in which you have. You just move upon the standard and don't allow anything else to disrupt what's going on with you. That's what changes up the game, and that's what makes everything different, and that's what we always try to push to you young men out here. And this is the standard in which I want you to connect yourself, because see, in your mind right now, because of the standard that you have, unfortunately what happens is fear itself, which is a bad thing. Fear is always going to make you feel like you have to chase. Fear is always going to tell you to over-explain. Fear is always going to tell you to rush into things, and it's going to tell you to perform a certain way because you're not good enough for yourself. And because of those fears and those anxieties, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, because fear is always going to tell you to move and think differently versus the freedom that you have as a man locked in. And that's the thing, that the standard that I'm talking about that most men don't understand. See, people think it's a standard of saying, okay, I say this one thing, and if I say this one thing should change and happen. No, women don't need to be, or women don't really want to be around a person that creates a bubble and a standard around her, okay? What I want you to understand when you learn the game is that mentally independent men, we just don't resist who we are to ourselves, and we allow ourselves to actually grow from the standard in which we build for ourselves. And not too many people are building the standard because no one's telling them that they're allowed. You're allowed to build a standard for yourself, and you have to be the authority of everything that you are. Okay, listen, if I'm walking up and I'm going up to a woman, the standard isn't the date. The standard isn't what she thinks. The standard isn't how she's feeling or what she's thinking about herself. The standard is I'm just going to introduce her to me, but I'm also going to invite her to be selected into my world. That's always going to be the standard. And I'm never going to move, and I'm never going to pivot from that because of the belief that I have in myself. I am the standard in which I create, and I'm not trying to change or disrupt that thing. And when you don't move, when you actually move that way and you start to learn yourself, there is not going to be a feedback loop. There's no emotional noise, and you're going to start noticing your thoughts, and you're going to really realize that sometimes my thoughts are going to do more damage to me than anything. And this is why a lot of guys don't understand why the game is so important, why coaching is so important, and why learning things is so important. Because at the end of the day, you have to learn that if I don't get a hold and destroy the construct I'm in right now, all I'm going to do is replace one dependency for another. Fear is going to replace fear with shy. I'll replace shy with passive. I'll replace passive with excuses. And then I'll replace all those things with, and this is where a lot of guys go wrong, I'll replace all those things with certain kind of processes and mindsets that are actually going to do more damage and more harm to you. And I don't actually want that to happen to you gentlemen, because I know a lot of you gentlemen have a lot going on for yourselves. And this is why we always try to push all you men to be better men, greater men, and to move better. And if you move better and think better, you can win in the game. And, wait. Oh, I'm trying to get some wood and I gotta wait. Okay, wait for them to go by, right? So that's why the game is so important, okay? So gentlemen, what I want to say to all you guys out here, at the end of the day, when it comes to the game out here, just make sure that at the end of the day, when it comes to the game, that we don't lose who we are as men. And we learn the game, appreciate who we are as men, and move things forward. So That's going to be the end of our video, but not the end of our discussion, gentlemen. Always remember, if you want to get at me, and just remember, if you're ready for your pathway, get at me at themanmindset@gmail.com. Guys, we have live shows, YouTube shorts, and videos. And if you love what you hear right now, watch this video right here. We'll talk more about that when we do our live shows. I'm the Dean, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.